You are one decision away from a totally different life. So deciding to even just imagine something different is so huge.
I am applying what I've learned that improves, that enhances cognitive performance, and I'm helping people increase their potential in life. That's the place you want to create this big, bold vision from. When you do it that way, then that big, bold vision is going to be in perfect alignment with who you are and your mission and your purpose. And he came up to me and he said, I have to tell you, you have completely cured my anxiety. We are able to completely change our lives just by harnessing the power of our own minds.
Hello, everyone. We are here with Dr. Brooke Roberts, and she is a cognitive neuroscientist and consciousness guide. Welcome, Brooke. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Can you tell people what exactly is a cognitive neuroscientist and consciousness guide?
Yes. So, cognitive neuroscientist is someone who has a PhD in neuroscience and they study cognition. So, I spend a lot of time studying memory, working memory, executive function, all of those important cognitive processes in cognitive performance.
Wow, that's amazing. That's so interesting. And I love, you've sent me some information about what it is that you do, and it sounds very fascinating. So I'm curious, what led you down this path to learning so much about this?
I started as a zoologist, interestingly enough. I wanted to chase monkeys through the jungle. That was always my dream. My hero, of course, was Jane Goodall. And I studied zoology as an undergrad. And towards the end of undergrad, I got so interested in animal behavior. That was the concentration that I had chosen. And in animal behavior, you have to take a lot of psychology and neuroscience type classes. I got really interested in cognition then, so cognitive psychology, and I got really interested in how monkeys learn. Actually, is how I started, and I just thought it was so fascinating how primate cognition, a non-human primate cognition, is similar to human cognition, and I just loved seeing the differences and the similarities. And so I really wanted to study primate cognition. I ended up working at a lab at Yale University,
Wow.
studying working memory in monkeys. And that led me down a whole rabbit hole of neuroscience. When I finished my PhD, I no longer wanted to work with monkeys in a laboratory. I absolutely love monkeys. I would prefer them to be in the jungle. And so I decided to start studying humans. I wanted to expand what I knew about brain imaging. I had done a little bit of PET imaging, positron emission tomography, and I wanted to expand. I wanted to learn fMRI. I wanted to learn EEG to study brain waves. And so I did a postdoctoral scholarship at University of California, Davis for quite a long time. I was there a long time learning many techniques of fMRI, EEG. And then I started studying ways to enhance cognitive performance. When I was an undergrad, I studied more pharmaceutical sciences, so how to enhance cognition using uh, pharmacological compounds. But whenever I started working with humans, I wanted to study other non invasive ways to enhance cognitive performance. And that led me down a path of different ways to stimulate the brain and train the brain. And then I started getting even deeper and studying into yoga and meditation and how to
Wow.
enhance cognition that way.
Well, that is quite the learning journey. Did you actually work as a zoologist as well?
No, I went straight into, well, I worked as a research assistant training monkeys to do working memory tasks. So that
Wow.
was as close as I got to a zoologist, but then I applied to graduate school pretty soon after that in a neuroscience program.
Wow, that's so interesting. So, what would you say, like today, what would you say that um, or how would you say, I guess, that you use what you've learned with people when you're working in, the current field that you're working in?
Mhm. So at the moment, I work both with the military and I work with people privately. So what I'm doing is I am applying what I've learned that improves, that enhances cognitive performance, and I'm helping people increase their potential in life. So, for instance, when I'm working with the military, they're often trying to enhance their performance. And I found that the same principles that apply to someone who wants to fly an aircraft better also apply to people like you and me, visionary women who want to improve their potential as well. So the same principles apply to someone transforming their lives and making their big, bold visions come to life.
Mhm. Wow, yeah, I guess when you think about it, I mean, even going from monkeys to humans to, we all have these innate needs and we all have various responses to what's going on in life, right? And have choice, which I feel like becomes a big part of it. But curious, so how would you describe like the typical service that you might provide for people if they were looking to, enhance their performance?
I use a combination of really accessible neurotechnology devices, the types of technologies that aren't too expensive, they're not too invasive, but they do enhance your brain function. I use a combination of that together with some of the consciousness practices that I have developed, including very special types of guided visualizations, yoga nidra journeys, and breathwork journeys. So
Wow.
combining those things together with a very, very clear, powerful intention of what you're trying to enhance.
So you actually do use some tools as well, like some technology.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Would you say that people are like, are they nervous about the technology? Do they have a lot of questions around like, what is this doing to my brain?
Yes, everyone is different. You get a good combination of people who they're nerds like me and they really want to use these. We consider them kind of biohacking tools a little bit. This is putting just to put a fun label on it. So you get a lot of people who are really into just human performance in general. And so they love it. And then you have other people who would prefer to keep their practices pure and maybe just meditate without that. And that's good too. I
Mhm.
also get people who are just, I use a lot of flashing light, and some people are just sensitive to flashing light. Of course, someone who's had a seizure isn't a good fit for that.
Yeah,
So that's why I love having both available. I love having the tools that you can use anytime, anywhere, where you don't need the technology, but then I add it on as someone who does want to amplify their experience.
right. I'm sure there are people who are just open to trying anything, and
Yeah.
that's kind of fun, right? Is being with people who
Mm-hmm.
can, you know, just are ready to experiment right along with you. So, from your time studying all of this, how did you decide to go into the field of working? Like right now, you're working one-on-one with people, I assume. Yes. And so
Yes.
did sorry. Did do you find that like one-on-one is kind of where people have a lot of transformation? Or how would you describe their experience with you? Like, does it take a long time for them to notice um an improvement?
No, they it depends what they're doing, right? So I do some methods like neurofeedback, which
Right.
is a way of using reinforcement learning to get your brain waves into an optimal state.
Mhm.
And those do take several sessions before you start noticing a difference, because it's a very involved form of reinforcement learning. And I like to do at least 15 sessions with people on that before they start seeing a big difference. But things like breath work and meditation, people notice something right away. And the people who love it, they really latch onto it. They want to share it with everyone. They can't stop thinking about it. They're in this blissful state they've never experienced before. And sometimes that those are just noticed right away, the effects.
What would you say is, if you can give an example of like a client experience of something like that's happened that made them go, oh wow, this really works.
I'll tell you a funny story. I had someone come in. I was trying to do neurofeedback with them, and they were just so stressed out. In EEG, whenever we have electrodes all over the head, you get something called sweat artifact, and that happens when someone gets really nervous or just really hot. But when they get really nervous, they have this involuntary response where they start sweating, and the electrodes don't behave well when you do that. And I was having trouble training him because he kept having such terrible artifacts. So I slowed things down, and we did a little bit of heart rate variability training with him and just some very simple breathing techniques. And then I didn't see him again. I didn't know what happened to him. Maybe he just got busy and didn't come back. And then I was leading a yoga class one day, and he came up to me and he said, I have to tell you, you have completely cured my anxiety. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I've been doing those practices that you taught me, and it's all gone. I feel fantastic.
Oh
So
wow, that's a
yeah,
huge win.
yeah, that was a good win.
Wow. I mean, someone with anxiety, right? They feel very much like the answer just is not out there, like it's not something that they can just find and like, especially not happen in one day of learning something that you can, that's amazing. I really think, people listening to this, so you have anxiety, um, I will at the end of the video, we'll talk a little bit more about how you can get in touch with Brooke, but just check out the description and the links below if you want to connect with her, because I do think people they need that right now, right? There's a lot of anxiety out there in the world. There's a lot of things going on. There's always things going on. But there's a lot of uncertainty, right? Where people become more and more anxious. And I feel like those simple practices are things that people, they don't necessarily need to change their entire life, right? To put something like that into practice, right? It's probably just a few minutes a day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Um, and would you say that people also, are you finding your, I know that you have a group program as well?
Yes, I would
Yeah.
love to talk about it. It's
Okay.
a brand new program. It's called Alchemical Trance. And this program uses all the different techniques that I've developed to get you into very powerful trance states. So that includes the breath work, the guided visualizations, hypnosis, and yoga nidra, which is one of my favorite techniques. So these are ways to guide your brain into a very powerful trance state. And while you're there, you can do whatever kind of work with the subconscious mind you'd like. And then, of course, I layer on the neurotechnology to enhance your experience. Now, I love using this for visionaries who have big, bold visions for their lives so that when they're in that trance state, that's what they're working on. They're working on bringing those big, bold visions to life.
Wow, that's amazing. So it's like enhanced visualization.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you explain a little bit what the yoga nidra is?
Yes, it's the yoga of sleep. So it
Oh,
is a specific form of yoga where you are laying on your back the whole time. And I guide you through a series of steps, a rotation of consciousness to guide you into that state where you're right on the edge of waking, sleeping, and dreaming. So just you
wow.
stay right there. And it's a way to keep you at that stage, which is a very powerful stage for your brain just to be in at all for recovery. But I love to use it for even more powerful ways, like I mentioned with bringing your big bold visions to life.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. I didn't actually realize also that you do hypnotherapy.
Yes.
Wow. Or hypnotist. Same thing. I'm
Yeah,
good.
I'm a certified clinical hypnotherapist and transpersonal hypnotherapist. So
Wow.
transpersonal means whenever you work with practices that go beyond your consciousness goes beyond that the individual person.
Oh my goodness. That's so,
Yeah.
so amazing. So what would you
Yeah.
say? So someone who perhaps is experiencing, let's just pick something that's common right now, like burnout, feeling just very busy on the hamster wheel of life, kind of like um, not feeling as though they have so much control in their life and they're just like doing all the things. And they really want to start to like simplify their life. Because a lot of that I find, attributes to a lot of anxiety, but also like just not having direction and being able to like focus on maybe that big bold vision or whatever it is, even if they don't know what that is right now. Like, what would you suggest someone in that state? And I'm just literally picking an example, okay, of someone just for the sake of, because I do happen to run into a lot of people who are dealing with that.
Mhm.
What would you say, like, what would be the first thing that you would talk to them about?
I can tell you a little bit about my framework of how I work with that. So the framework I have has 4 steps. So the first step I call remember, but it's really just remembering exactly who you are, all the pieces of you, all your different aspects, and getting a good, clear take on your identity. And I know you and I have talked quite a bit about identity work, and so
Yeah.
you can imagine that first part of the framework is developing that identity and
Yeah.
remembering all parts of yourself. And I think it's really important to start there. The reason why it's important to start there is because that's the place you want to create this big bold vision from. Um, when you do it that way, then that big bold vision is going to be in perfect alignment with who you are and your mission and your purpose.
Right.
And so that's where I think it's important for people to always come back to is to come back to that identity, who they are, what they're here to do,
Right.
and
That
bring in all those multidimensional aspects of themselves.
Okay, I love this. And so this one piece that I don't know if everyone fully understands, so I want to make sure people who are listening get this remembering. I remember when I first like understood this concept, but it definitely was not something I would just know. So can you talk a little bit about like what the remembering is when you
The
talk about remembering who
remembering
you
and
are?
yeah, the remembering involves many different very fun transpersonal aspects. I bring you through practices for your inner child to childhood and past life regressions if people like to go there, Akashic records if they like to go there, and then working with visualizations to bring all those different aspects of yourself, remembering who you are, and now bring them in together and integrate them.
Okay, okay, got it. Love that. And then after that,
Then we work on the vision. So now
ooh,
we get to allow that big bold vision to come to us. And here we can work with guidance if we so choose, and use all of those practices I mentioned before to allow this big, huge vision to come to life in front of your inner eye.
well, that's always so much fun, right? To be in your imagination and to just be able to create whatever it is that you want to create. And I think a lot of times, people need to remember that you can create whatever you want, and being able to actually like let go of expectations or judgments or anything like that and just be able to free your mind to explore, what it is your vision is bringing to the forefront for you. Which sometimes isn't as clear when people are in this state of like their nervous system is constantly on alert, right? They're not finding moments of calm and not being able to like connect with that inner person who is still inside there while all of this is going on, while all the busyness of life is happening. So I love like being able to imagine something different. And like I always say, I think I've said this in so many YouTube videos, but that whole thing about, you know, you are like one decision away from a totally different life. So deciding to even just imagine something different is so huge, right? It's just humongous in the terms of like that literally could be the one key that sends you on a completely different journey. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And these practices are so powerful. And then combining them together with neuroscience technologies is exactly how I was able to manifest our retreat center land in Costa Rica.
Yeah, so let's
So
get to this.
I can tell, yeah, I can tell you, in yoga nidra and some other practices, I had visualized so vividly exactly what this land looked like. And then one day I was standing on the land, and I had a really interesting experience there because my husband was just off in the background talking to the realtor, like, usual business. But I was like in shock and awe. Like my eyes were wide open. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is it. This
Wow.
is the exact land from my
Was there like
imagination.
landmarks, or how did you notice that it was the exact?
It was, so I had envisioned this place that had kind of two levels, with jungle surrounding it, and looking out on the horizon, it's all ocean. And there was something about the way I was standing. At first, I'm like, oh yeah, I could totally see my vision coming to life here. And then there was something about like shifting my angle, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is it. This is the exact place from
Wow,
my dreams. This is crazy.
that is amazing. You must have had like goosebumps, just like holy shot.
Yeah,
So did
yeah.
he see you and like, hey, what's wrong? Like, what's
No, no, they were busy
oh,
doing guy stuff.
here's the moment.
And the moment was all happening in my own mind.
Well, that's the only place it needs to happen anyway. That's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so amazing. So tell me about Costa Rica. What's your plans? What's happening there?
So yes, my husband and I went down there for about a year and a half to get to know the land, get to know the people. And I had this dream for a long time, to start a retreat center there. It was a way for me to bring in all my loves together. So to bring in my love for monkeys, of course,
Of course.
all the animals, the wildlife, the nature, to bring in my love for yoga and all things consciousness, and also to bring in my love for all the consciousness and neuroscience work that I was doing. I could see a way of guiding people on these special journeys that combine neuroscience and consciousness together. I could see this as a wonderful place where people could come and experience that and connect with nature at the same time. And I also see it as a place of learning, so people coming down and guiding them through their own trainings there.
What's your goal
Um,
in terms of like the stay? Like, would people come and stay for extended periods?
Yes.
Yeah.
So just like either for coming for retreats or coming for any sort of training program. So if someone wants to do their yoga teacher training there or something like that, it's definitely a great place to do that. It is a fairly intimate environment. So we're right now, the architecture plans we have are for about 14 people plus the facilitators. So it'll be nice, intimate groups where people can get a very good intimate
I think people
experience.
want that, right? Like, you can go to these big things, but when you have that intimate experience, I think that's where I think more transformation comes from, because you feel
Yes.
like it's kind of designated to you. in a sense.
Yeah, it's designed to be small circles of communities that can truly connect with each other while connecting with the nature and the wildlife and
Oh,
everything at the
sounds
same time.
amazing.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this video and Costa Rica isn't quite ready yet, stay tuned, come back or check out the links that Brooke has below if you want to see, what's how things are coming along. Follow her on Instagram. I'm sure she'll be updating everybody there about what's going on with the project.
It's called the Dancing Jaguar.
The Dancing Jaguar. That's amazing. And what led you to choose that name?
The jaguar was always, in my consciousness. I love animals, I love cats, and the jaguar is one of the most majestic animals in all of Costa Rica. So I was thinking something around jaguar anyway, but I was in meditation one night and it came to me. There's a lot of symbolism. So the dancing jaguar is the feminine version of the jaguar. It is, she is both fierce and she's graceful, she's creative, she's intuitive, and she walks the world like the between the worlds of the seen and the unseen. And so for me, that is really diving into consciousness and
Oh,
spirituality and everything together.
love that. Amazing.
Yeah.
Jaguars are just gorgeous and they're just so beautiful.
Yes.
Um, so is there jungle on the land where you are or like it's close to I don't know anything about jungles.
Yes. Well, so we have two large building sites, so one on top of the other, and then all around it is all jungle, and there's a stream, and then you look out on the horizon, and it's all ocean. So
Wow, that's
it's really perfect. It's kind of about 25 minutes up a mountain from the beach.
wow. Oh,
Yeah.
that
So
sounds amazing. I can't
I always knew the part of Costa Rica I wanted to go to because it's where the ocean, the rainforest, the beach, the mountains, they all come together. So it's
all of those
perfect.
things. It's so rare, right, to be able to get all of those things in one place,
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh, I love this. So, when everything's up and going, people can check that out. In the meantime, though, if people are listening to this and they just want more information, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
They can find me on Instagram at Alchemical Trance,
Okay.
and they're welcome to send me a DM there if they'd like to know more about the Alchemical Trance program. So that's going to be a group program. You can join in and join in with a bunch of other visionaries and experience all these practices and the neurotechnologies together. And if you would like one-on-one sessions, I do offer packages that include all of the powerful trance states
And
that I
is
do.
this like online or in person?
Alchemical Trance is online.
Okay.
Yes.
Just want
I
to
also,
clarify.
so I do, I do have some of the devices here that I can show people
Sure.
the types of technologies I'm working with. So the one that's used with alchemical trance is this one here. So I'll give you a little bit of science lesson. So I work a lot with brainwaves, and there's an interesting sort of hacking tool to change the state of your brain. And I'll give you a little bit of a picture here. So imagine that you're sitting here and you're nice and relaxed. And now imagine all of a sudden there's a flashing light at a very specific frequency. There's a pulse tone in your ears. Maybe there's even a vibration on your skin, all pulsing at the same frequency. There's an interesting thing the brain does. Whenever the brain starts to notice a regular repeating frequency around it, it will actually latch on to that frequency. And that external frequency will start to drive your brain into creating more of that frequency. And so, if we want to get into, say, a meditative state where we have more theta wave activity, for instance, and so theta is a very slow frequency, about 4 to 8 hertz, very important in memory, the subconscious mind. Um, you see it a lot in very deep meditation and dreaming as well. So that's something one of the frequencies I work with Yoga Nidra. So there are devices that can flash lights and pulse tones at those frequencies to help guide your brain into that frequency. And so this one is the one I use with Alchemical Trance. So it's just got a little interface here where you set the protocol. There's 28 protocols on this one, all frequencies ranging from the slowest frequencies, sub delta, to the fastest frequencies of gamma. And there's also headphones that come with it, so you hear pulse tones at the same frequencies. So there's LED lights in here that flash, and you close your eyes and you see the flashing lights through your closed eyelids. You hear the pulse tones, and it's a way of guiding your brain a little bit easier into that state that makes finding that perfect state within yoga nidra, within breath work, within guided visualizations, makes it a little bit easier to get into that more powerful state. And it's also a way to really go inward and keep your brain engaged and in the state that you desire. And
Yeah,
so
interesting.
this is the one I use with alchemical trance because there is an audio in function here. So you actually plug in my practices, my recordings or my live practices if I'm doing it live, and you'll hear my guidance under the pulse tones.
Oh, that's it. That's good. I find that I'm fairly new to meditating, so when I am, it's that is part of the challenge, right? Is like just getting rid of all of the noise, and not being distracted by what's going on in your environment when you're trying to meditate. So very interesting indeed, how technology can just help with that, right?
Yeah. And here's another one. This is a newer one I've been working with. So this one you wear like a visor, and there's a light box here, and the lights flash here, and then you wear headphones. So this one is a little bit different than the what we call it brainwave entrainment. It's a little bit different than the entrainment device because the visuals are quite intense on this one, and they don't stay with one frequency. They kind of go through a lot of frequencies in a way that keeps your brain very engaged. So it's more of a brain engagement device. And this one is really good for breaking up, old habits and things that aren't serving you anymore and allowing those new neural pathways to form. So fantastic for neuroplasticity. I have actually found these to work really great with some energy work. So that's the way I'm using that one right now. And so that one can be done online as well.
Huh.
This one, this one's the pro version. So this one I only do in person. So if you were to find me, so I'm in Tampa, Florida right now. If you were to find me here, or if you were to find me in Costa Rica at the Dancing Jaguar, you would get to see this one. This is a brainwave entrainment lamp. So
Wow.
this one has strobing lights that come out of it. And so you can lie under it or you can let it flash in front of you if you're sitting up. And this one's great because it's completely programmable. I can make my own protocols. I can do multiple frequencies at once. So you can see there's sort of an inner and an outer layer of lights here. So you can have one of them on a slower frequency like theta, and the outer lights are in gamma. So that way theta and gamma are synced up together in a co-modulating fashion. And so it's really exciting. And you use that one with music as well. So
Okay. So you were mentioning there that some of those, like if you're doing this online with those devices, though, is that more of an in-person or they have their own? How does that work?
yeah, so they'll have their own device.
Okay.
I've chosen the two that I showed you first, the one with the light box and the one with the glasses.
Okay.
Um, these are really quite affordable.
Okay.
They're surprisingly good at what they're meant to be doing. And so I use those online so people can order their own device, and then we all use them together in our own homes. The lamp, this one is really the pro version, and so this one I do in person.
Okay. God. Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to
Yeah.
clarify for anyone who like wondered about that. And so they can just order it. I'm sure you have like links
Yes.
and maybe.
Yes, so I'm a partner with the first two that I showed you. I'm a partner with them, so you can order them through me. And whenever you sign up for Alchemical Trance, there's an option just to add it on.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, that makes it
Mhm.
really easy,
And
right?
if you want, you can also just order either of the devices through me alone as well.
Okay, amazing. So if you are interested in those devices or her program, please don't hesitate to click the links below. And if you love this kind of video, I'm going to be following up with Brooke too once the Dancing Jaguar is up and running, and we'll have another conversation about that. So please don't hesitate to like and subscribe so that you can follow along and we can touch base back with Brooke again. And make sure to follow her as well on social media too. Brooke, is there anything in just sort of wrapping up a little bit? Is there anything we didn't touch on that you want to make sure to include today?
Just to reiterate the power of your own mind. And I know you know this as well,
Yeah.
but we are able to completely change our lives just by harnessing the power of our own minds. And there's many ways you can do that. And I have studied so many different ways to do that over the years, everything from traditional neuroscience to yoga and everything in between. And I've really distilled my program down into the ones that I know worked the best for me and that were just the most fun, honestly. This can be a lot of fun. And so I just encourage everyone to find their thing, their way to work with their mind, because it does make a huge difference whenever you harness the power of your mind on how you live your life.
Right. I absolutely agree. Couldn't agree more. I feel like that is, what we are both here to do, along with everyone else that we've met who is in this kind of work, right? We're here to help people find um, that enlightenment, but to also live in the grandest version of themselves, right? And to be able to realize their full potential and express themselves fully. And I love hearing different ways of doing that. And you've definitely outlined that today. So I feel like people have so many options, and if they're interested in what you have to offer, I think don't hesitate. If you've watched to the end of this video, I feel like there's a reason for that. And I would take that wholly as a sign. And just go with your gut feeling about what it is that you want to further explore past just watching this video, right? And continue to dream. Don't forget to dream and make sure to remember that all of our dreams have value and that there's nothing wrong with, wanting to have more, wanting to reach for something outside of the norm or what, might seem possible. So that's my little message at the end there. So thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to see what you end up doing, and I'm sure it'll be exactly what you have planned in your mind, what you have visualized and worked on. I have no doubt about that. So I just wanted to say a huge thanks for being here and sharing all of this amazing information and technology with us. It's really cool to see, too, all of the things that you offer.
This was a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Bye for now, everyone.